Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome to a new video. We're going to discuss the bad things that can happen after a Reiki session and things that deem to be negative or turn people in a certain way. So I put a video on TikTok the other day and somebody commented on it and they said that they don't trust Reiki anymore because it turned their ex partner evil, negative, selfish, and obviously that's why they're now an ex, so they don't trust Reiki anymore. And straight away this comment kind of like got my heckles up a little bit because I know how powerful and how beautiful Reiki is, but I had to sit with it and I meditated on it a little bit and I asked my guides for some clarification, for some information as to how I can appease this viewpoint, because to me, straight away, I know how powerful and healing Reiki is. But to a lot of people, they might see things and deem things as being negative of what has happened in their life circumstance, their situation. People break up, people fall out, and things happen, you know? So we have to look at it from the full angle and the full perspective of things that do take place in life. So I replied with a comment eventually to this person and basically said that, you know, what I feel has happened is that actually through the healing process and through the healing session, they've discovered a shadow of themselves. They've discovered an aspect of themselves that they need to work on. And that is what the Reiki has revealed to them. And that was kind of like the shortened down message of response that I gave them. But that's the validation and clarification that came from spirit, that came from my guides, that I had to send forward. And I was thinking, and I was doubting myself, and I know I shouldn't, because these words weren't from me, these words were from spirit, but I was doubting what I'd said, and I thought, oh, you know, maybe I should have worded it a little bit better, maybe I should have said it this way, or I should have given more compassion to the situation. And Spirit said, well, no, you don't need to, because this is the messages from our realm. This is the truth. And there is only one truth when it comes from the realm of spirit, and that is just as it is. So what we tend to try and do in the physical realm, with the physical world, with the mind, with the body, we always try to rationalize and try to understand every little thing that is going on. And we only look at things in life through a dualistic concept. Well, that's happened, so that's good. That's happened, so that's bad. We don't think of the energetic things that are taking place within that situation, within those circumstances within life. And obviously from this comment, I don't know the circumstances of what may have taken place in these people's lives. However, I know wholeheartedly that Reiki is only helping for the highest good. It is not negative. It always comes from the most highest of intention. So eventually I got a response, and it was quite a long response, and obviously on TikTok you can only see so much of the responses, and I thought, oh right, okay, let's see what comes back from this. And initially this person that had responded to my comment had said that actually the Reiki practitioner themselves had said to their ex that they had a lot of black energy around them, a lot of negativity around them, that needs to be healed, sorry. And for me, I wouldn't say that to somebody that's come for a Reiki session. I wouldn't say to someone, oh, you're carrying a lot of blackness, you're carrying a lot of negativity. It's like if you're giving a psychic reading or a mediumship reading, or you've got a lot of negative spirits around you, or you've got a lot of negative energy around you, or you're carrying a lot of negative energy, you need to deal with it. How does that leave the person? That leaves them scared, it leaves them worried, it leaves them thinking, well, how do I heal? What do I do? How do I deal with this? And it puts them in a place of worry. When we think about Reiki and we think about Reiki principles and the precepts of Reiki, the first one is just to let go of worry. So why, as a practitioner, are they giving someone information that can make them worry? So that is a big numero uno for me, is only give information that is going to serve the person their highest of intention. So maybe from that person's perspective, letting them know that they're carrying a lot of heavy energy or blackness or dark energy, maybe they feel they're helping on some level, but in actual fact they're not. They're not giving in concise, informative information. They're not letting them know of different ways that they can maybe bring more positive energy into their life by using various means and various tools of what I like to discuss on this channel and across TikTok, YouTube, wherever this video may go. So that was that, and basically my comment made this person rethink their statement about thinking that Reiki was evil and it had a negative effect on their partner. And my comment actually switched their way of thinking into one of a more healing way of thinking. Because when I mentioned the concept of that maybe the Reiki has brought out some shadow within them that they need to work on some level, that made them realize about themselves, because she actually said in one of her comments as well that she had to deal with a lot of shadow and do a lot of shadow work, and it was a really, really difficult time. So when we're dealing with this stuff, when we are dealing with shadow, we're dealing with the ego, we're dealing with pain body and shadow work and all the things that we carry that a lot of us aren't really aware of and don't want to be aware of, it can be extremely difficult, extremely disturbing. So when a practitioner is saying to them, you've got a lot of black energy, or you've got a lot of heaviness, you've got a lot of negativity that you're carrying, you need to deal with that, and they're giving them kind of like half-hearted statements of not really being aware of how to deal with it, or giving them negative statements in a way that's making them feel worried and upset because of their situation, their circumstance, because they might be carrying all this black energy or darkness or whatever it might be, then we need to be aware of the consequences. And that consequence obviously made somebody think that what Reiki was doing was evil, was negative, was bad, so it made this person think twice about Reiki. Luckily, they'd seen my video and I managed to switch their thinking round to another way of perceiving what had been taking place, which actually made her realize of the situation that she was in when she was dealing with something very similar, and was aware that they had to be on their own to deal with this stuff. So usually when you're dealing with negativity that is coming from within, then we tend to need to be alone. Although we can go to practitioners, we can go to healers, but trying to be aware of ourselves, trying to be aware of our mind, body and soul, of where we are in the mix of things, where we are in the world, then we need that time to ourselves, to meditate, to sit with it, to formulate, to allow the energies to process, to integrate it as we move down our healing spiritual path. So think of this as a turning point for yourself. If you think, and you're watching this video, you think that Reiki's have this negative effect on somebody in your life, Reiki is only working for the highest good. It is not negative. It will not do any harm. It will not bring any negativity in, as long as it's used with the right intentions, and also the practitioner's ego isn't getting in the way of saying, you're carrying this, you're carrying that, you need to go and deal with it. That is not giving them concise information of ways that they can manage themselves, manage their energy, manage their way of being. You can offer assistance and practices and ways of incorporate into their everyday life to make them think, oh, actually, yeah, that's actually helping me on that level, and that's helping me on that level. And then you start to use things in connection with each other, that then you start to see the holistic benefit of the various modalities that we're using. So Reiki can sometimes, not always, not a lot of the time, but it can bring out a person's shadow. It can bring out a bit of their ego, and if we're not ready for it, and we don't want to be aware of it, and we're maybe going through stages of ego death and ego evolution, and we're going through an awakening process, then that is a very, very scary place to be. So we need to give these people compassion and love and empathy for the place that they're in. We can't just say they're carrying this and then that's it. We have to be able to give them more information. So, as a for instance, if that was a client of mine and I'd done this healing and I'd felt maybe some heaviness or whatever, not that I really overanalyze anything that's going on in my Reiki sessions. I try not to get too deep in them because I'm not controlling the Reiki. As all practitioners should be aware of, we don't control the Reiki. The Reiki is working for the highest good. It is a spiritual force. It is a spiritual energy. So we don't bring the mind, we don't bring the ego into it. But if that was me, if that was a client of mine, and I felt maybe they're going through some heaviness, at the end of the session, I'd probably just sit them down and I'd ask them, okay, what did you feel? What did you experience in that session today? Maybe they might say, I felt really, really emotional. All right, okay, well, that's good. It's good in a way that you're connecting to those emotions, because sometimes we need to release the emotions. We need to be aware of the emotion to be able to move forward. What emotion was it that you were feeling exactly? Oh, well, I was feeling really, really heavy. I was feeling really heavy-hearted. I was feeling like a lot of grief, or a lot of turmoil, or there's just something going on in my life that's really getting me down and really making me feel quite low. Right, okay, well, I'm glad you've expressed that, so what do you think we should do to work on that? I can advise having more Reiki sessions, but if you'd like, we can also work on that with some EFT, some tapping. We can work on that. We can do some nice meditation. We can just talk if that's going to help as well. I can use other things, or I can recommend various therapists or counsellors if you need to go into some sort of counselling if you feel if it's that bad. Maybe they might say something along the lines of, no, you know what, I really, really enjoyed this session. It brought up some emotion for me, but you've given me something more to think about, to be aware of the emotion and not suppress it. Because so many times we do just try to suppress emotion. And the thing about the Reiki principles is a lot of people might see them and just think, just for today we're going to let go of anger. Just for today we're going to let go of worry. Well, it's very easy to just say, well, I'm just going to let go of that, I'm just going to let go of that. But we're not just letting go. We're sitting with the emotion. We're sitting with, and it's not just anger and worry, by the way. We're not just we're looking at the emotions as and your thoughts and your mind as your energetic body, because that's what it is. Your energetic body, your nervous system, the energy that flows through your body, where things take place and things happen, and emotions can sometimes become you can feel the emotions in certain areas of the body, maybe in the lower back, where because you're carrying a lot of stress, you're carrying a lot of weight of the world on your shoulders. The shoulders, another great point where people feel that tension in the shoulders because they've got a lot of stress, they've got a lot of worry. Maybe there's some anger or some fear, you usually feel that in the stomach. So you get all these areas around the body, and the body is always speaking to us. So through EFT, through Reiki, through meditation, we can cater each session, or I cater each session specifically for you, for that cause, for that purpose. And that's looking at healing from an energetic, holistic standpoint, looking at the root cause, rather than just trying to say, well, this is what you've got, this is what you've got to deal with, off you go now, and in comes the next client, So it's one of them things where when we are giving healing sessions and we're doing Reiki, we don't let the ego get in the way. We don't let the mind get in the way. We don't think, oh, I've seen this big black shape, it means that they're surrounded by blackness or negativity. Because my view of blackness could be totally different to the next person's view of blackness. Blackness to some people, if they work with tarot, the death card, can be the end of something. So there may be something new coming into the person's life. blackness to somebody else could be negativity. Blackness could mean a negative person. Blackness could mean, it can mean anything. It doesn't have to be negative, because at the end of the day, we always need to have negativity and we always need to have light. We're always going to have both in this symbiotic state of yin and yang energy, and that is how things formulate and move around. And as the symbol itself shows, you know, you have the black yang with the white symbol, and you have the white with a little black dot in the middle. So neither can exist without the other. So we need to be aware of one and the other to be able to bring them together, to find harmony, to find balance. And that is then true healing. That is what we're healing. We're not just giving sort of half-hearted messages. You know, that's a lot of that is kind of like a bit of fluff, really. And there's a lot of practitioners that might say, oh, well, I felt this and I felt that. And as soon as you say that to somebody as well, which in the practitioner's mind could be totally harmless, by the way, and, you know, it's not wrong, but as you develop, you become more aware that actually it's a lot of just the mind playing games, giving images, giving signs and symbols, that it might actually be messages for you rather than the client. How do you actually know? How do you formulate? Have you built up a practice where you're aware of your own energy and what you're feeling, and then you're aware of the recipient's energy and what they're feeling? And are you combining your energies with the Reiki? Are you flowing with the Reiki? Are you not letting your mind get in the way? Because as soon as you let this get in the way, it stops this. It slows the energy flow down, because you're too busy thinking about, oh, what was that? Who was that? Why am I seeing that? Rather than just being and surrendering to the healing. And that is what needs to take place during a healing session. So don't look at these sessions, if something bad happens or something negative happens or whatever, don't look at it as negative. Look at it as from a healing standpoint, because we can't perceive or conceive what's happening energetically during these sessions. There is so much that is happening more than we're able to comprehend. It's multidimensional healing. So it's healing past lives, it's healing your future, it's bringing you more into the present. So you're expanding your awareness, you're expanding your energy into these various dimensions to bring healing and balanced energy into the now. So I hope this helps, and I hope this helps put some people's minds at ease when they might think something negative has happened to themselves or to somebody during a Reiki session. So have a beautiful day. If you've enjoyed this content and enjoyed this video, please do give me a bing, a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.